Welcome. This is Mr. Perry. Our lesson for today, our reading, Why Didn't the USA Join World War II in 1939? World War II began in September of 1939 when both Britain and France declared war on Nazi Germany following its invasion of Poland. While other Allied nations such as Canada and Australia joined Britain and France in their fight against Nazi aggression in Europe, the United States remained on the outside. The United States would not join the Allied war effort until 1941, when it was attacked by the Japanese Empire in Pearl Harbor on December 7th. So why then did the United States not join the war effort before the Pearl Harbor attack? Well, in order to understand this decision by the U.S., it is first important to understand the foreign policy of the time and lack of support for war by the American people. The world was only 20 years removed from World War I, which shocked Americans to the realities of war and the brutality of trench warfare. In general, the American people were not ready for another major conflict after World War I, stayed for so long and as a stalemate, and the cost of life that the First World War caused. The United States in 1939 was not the military powerhouse it is today, and it was a considerable risk to the U.S. to participate in another worldwide conflict. As well, many Americans viewed the development of dictators in Europe following the World War I as a sign that World War I ended in failure, and many wanted to remain separate as to not get pulled into another major conflict. In fact, many Americans viewed World War II as a European problem and did not necessarily see America as having a large role to play. Politically, the United States struggled with the question of joining the war before it did. Some in America believed that the U.S. should join to support its allies and stop the spread of fascism. This opinion grew in popularity among American politicians after major German advances in Europe, including the German advances in Denmark and the surrender of France to German forces. Now, this viewpoint argued that American forces were needed to help Britain fight off the aggressive and powerful German forces. On the other hand, some believed that the advances of the German army in Europe proved that the United States should remain out of the conflict, as the German forces were seen as too strong. For example, Joseph P. Kennedy, who was the American ambassador to Great Britain, held this view and argued that America risked losing it if it went up against Nazi Germany. Although the United States did not join direct warfare until 1941 when it was attacked, it did support the Allied effort in the war during the previous years through the Lend-Lease Act. Passed in March of 1941, the Lend-Lease Act allowed President Roosevelt to support the forces of Britain, the Soviet Union, and China with ammunition and weapons shipments. Well, in the end, the United States was forced into the war on December 7th of 1941 when Japan surprise attacked the U.S. at Pearl Harbor. With the help of American troops, the Allies were able to push back Germany and Europe by 1944, and the U.S. ended World War II in August of 1945 with the atomic bombing of Japan. So there you have it. You should have enough notes to get through the questions that Mr. S gave you. It's a good and interesting subject, so have at it. Hit it and quit it.